Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Hot Seat Automotive Media Podcast. Your buddy CJ here, talking to you about all things automotive industry, the automotive enthusiast hobby, car guy stuff, cars, and all the things that car guys are into, and the stuff that gearheads love talking about. This is the place to be on a Friday night, and this is a very special Friday night edition, folks, of the show. Welcome. Love you guys. Glad you're here. And let me first start out by saying this. It's cold outside. For most of our listeners and our viewers, we're getting some extreme weather in the southeast, in the northeast. Y'all out there in the west coast in California, you're chilling in the sun. But a lot of us are kind of, inside with the heat and all those performance tires on our cars. We got to be careful. So first things first, your buddy CJ wants you to be careful this weekend. But listen, it's cold outside. Nobody's having any fun except us here on Hot Seat Automotive Podcast. In all seriousness, let's get into this. These are the top 5 automotive enthusiast films, according to your buddy CJ. And we'll get into the criteria in a minute. I also got a special bonuses. You're getting a 2-for-1 tonight. I got a couple bonuses for you, all related to gearhead movies, automotive enthusiast movies. Let's make it a blockbuster night. No, CJ. Blockbuster, wrong answer. Guys, let's make it a Netflix night. Let's make it a Prime night. Let's make it an Apple TV night. These are the movies. If you haven't seen these movies, let me be blunt. I'll give it to you straight. Ladies and gentlemen. If you have not seen these movies on my list, stop what you're doing. You must stop what you're doing and watch these films. Guys, I want you to like and subscribe. I want you to leave comments. I want to hear about your list, but we're going to get into this with my list. And a couple things I want to tell you. First things first. Guys, I'm a film buff. I've always been a film buff. I'm into great stories, actors that can just pull you in with the way they develop a character. I'm into character development in films. So my bar is pretty high. Your buddy CJ, it's not just about, the Hollywood blockbuster. For example, Ford versus Ferrari. I'll tell you, that movie did not do it for me. And it is not on my list. I did see it, and it was a snooze fest. It was predictable. It was biographical and historical, which for me, that's not on my criteria. I don't necessarily need to, a true-to-life film. We'll get into that in a minute. But Ford versus Ferrari did not have that character immersion, did not have that character development, the predictable outcomes. There was nothing in that drew me in, other than the cool driving scenes. But I can get that. I can watch racing for that. I don't need that. And to just see cool cars, I can see cool cars anywhere. CJ's list, your buddy CJ's list, is all about solid story, character development. You got to have some action. You got to have some suspense. And if you don't have action and suspense, it's got to be comedy. You got to have the humor, the relationship between characters, and of course, iconic cars. Of course, there has to be iconic cars, and there's got to be, but again, cars that individually and together matter over time and that leave an impact on us as the viewer. That's part of my criteria. And if it's diluted with bad acting and just corporate sponsorship and narratives, I'm not about it. I'm about cinema for cinema's sake. I am a film buff. And of course, just like you, your buddy CJ is a car guy and a gearhead. So let's get into the list. Let's talk about what is on the list. And again, like and subscribe. Leave your comments. I want to hear what's on your list. And let's talk about it because it is subjective. It is subjective. So I'm going to start out slow. Guys, I got to bring you into this slow. I got to bring you into this list of the top 5 car guy and gearhead movies of all time. My list. I'm going to start out slow with a couple of sleepers. And then we're going to finish with the crescendo. We're going to finish with the must-see giants, the ultimate car guy movies. But let's get into what I'm showing you right here. Who recognizes it? Do you recognize this? You should. This is a bit of a sleeper. Ronin, 1998, Robert De Niro, an all-star cast. This film's got it all. Look at that big Audi S8. Look at the Citroen. This movie, even though it's kind of action, suspense, criminal thriller, the car scenes, are done so well, the chase scenes, and then the subtlety. What I love about this, and I saw this when this came out in 98, guys. I identified this as a must-see car guy movie back then, subconsciously, because the way they talked about this Audi and modding the Audi and the fuel injectors. Who remembers? And wanting a car that can push back. I got goosebumps. These are the things that car guys pick up on, and car girls. I know when you watch this movie, and if you haven't seen Ronin, go see it. Pause my video and go watch Ronin, then come back. Okay, are you back? Let's talk about it. The delicate, intricate way that they introduced cars. The cars were not the focal point of the movie. Don't get me wrong. This is not a movie about cars. This is an action suspense thriller, Ronin. But the ambiance and the impact of these vehicles, it's so cool. And it's really cool if you're a car guy, if you're an automotive enthusiast, you got to see Ronin. And it's got the story, and it's got compelling characters that draw you in. This movie will suck you in. That's what I like about it. And it's got the element of performance cars, and it's got some gearhead stuff when the guy's talking about modding the car and the way he drives. It's just, oh my God. I don't want to ruin it for you. I want you to go watch Ronin. So I told you we would sort of start slow, but now we're going to get into something I have to. Guys, I have to go here. Let's talk about the national anthem of car guy films in the modern era. The original, The Fast and the Furious. Are you kidding me? This film has to be on this list, even if you're not a fan. Even if you're not a fan of this film, which I am a fan of this film before the series got diluted, because I claim it's completely diluted now. It's silly. But this original film, the significance makes it a modern classic. Certainly for car guys. Anyone, I'd say, who's right now aged 15 to 40, this film has had a tremendous impact on them. I mean, even guys a little bit older and maybe even a little bit younger, the real up-and-comers, this film has had a massive, sweeping, and pervasive impact on car culture. And we're talking about 2001, the original one. You got Dom, you got Brian there. Look at the cars. It just was so cool. And some of the scenes were just so silly, but fun, genuinely fun. And it had the character development. Now, I say this is a modern classic, and it is. But, blink your eyes. This film came out in 2001. It's 2024. You do the math. This is 20 plus years ago, and it still holds up over time. And I don't even have to say this. Why am I saying this? Go ahead, CJ. You still got to say it. If you haven't seen this movie, your buddy CJ is giving you a homework assignment. You got to go back and watch it. And even if you disagree with me and you saw it years ago, watch it again and think about the significance, the impact on the car culture. A whole new generation of car guys and car girls and enthusiasts were influenced by this movie. And it's just, it's got something for everybody. Of course, the high rev tuners are in this, the JDM stuff, the Japanese cars, the imports, but it's also got some of that retro throwback. Dom's huge Mopar beast there. It's got some of that as well. It's got a little bit of everything. And again, it's got to be said, right? Because this has become a franchise. The first movie told a story. The first movie was about cars and the hobby. And of course, it also had an underpinning of, a story about crime and characters and good guys who wore black hats and maybe bad guys who were really good guys and just cops and robbers kind of stuff. It had it all. It had some suspense. It had some humor in it. It was a very cool image. The imagery of the film was very cool. But all of those things make it an important film. It is this series, this franchise is completely diluted. What Fast and Furious is today, the last few films, you guys already know. Leave me your comments if you disagree. But they've become superhero films. You've got super karate fight scenes. You've got Fieros blasting off into outer space. You've got just ridiculous CGI. Like, it's like watching a video game, and I've lost interest. I'll still go see the films, you know, whatever. Maybe I've seen a couple of them, but after Tokyo Drift, I kind of lost interest. Sorry, I don't need to see The Rock in another film. No, I'm kidding. Love The Rock. But yeah, this movie, a modern classic, incredibly important and impactful to the automotive enthusiast hobby. Go see it if you haven't seen it yet. But wait a minute, it's not available at Blockbuster anymore. Sorry, old guys. Listen, stream this movie tonight. You got to watch it. All right, next one up. I'm going deep now, folks. And guys, if you have not seen this movie, this is another one. The Road Warrior. What we're looking at here is a scene from Mad Max, The Road Warrior, the 1981 film. This was actually the second film in the series. There's a reason why I pulled this one up first, because now I'm giving you 2 for 1. 2 for 1 on a Friday night with your buddy CJ. But in all seriousness, you got Mad Max, you got Mel Gibson, Australian film, okay? This is so 80s, this is so car guy, this is so wild action action and suspense. But what I will tell you, it is also a violent movie. It is what it is. There's a lot, some people may find it disturbing. Look, you go into it with a sense of humor, with the desire to be entertained. This film will do all of that. And the car scenes, forget about it. Even the old truck, oh my God, the Mack truck. And when he goes and recovers it and gets it started, it's got the air starter. Where my truck guys at? The truck, if you remember, that Mack had an air starter. Who knows about Mack trucks? I know a thing or two. We'll get into that in another episode. But guys, these pursuit specials, the last of the V8 Interceptors. Oh my God, I'm getting chills. There is so much significance to this film. The big supercharger sticking out of the hood and all the cool things Mel Gibson's character does. He is the essence of 80s wasteland, post-apocalyptic warrior, hero or anti-hero. And he's just super cool. And for those of us that grew up in this era, this movie, kind of like Fast and the Furious, not as significant. I'm not going to say this was as significant as Fast and the Furious, because it wasn't. But in general, your car guy, your action film buff back in this era was all about it. So my homework assignment for you tonight, CJ's giving you more homework assignment, dudes, in this cold winter weather. You got nothing else going on. You got to watch The Road Warrior. Now, this is a great film, and let me get this out of the way. The reboots, Fury Road, not it. If that's your thing, fine. Go watch it. But if you like that film, you will love this film. Keep in mind, this is, oh gosh, what was it, 40 years ago? So you kind of got to understand and appreciate that. This was a different time. There's no CGI. This is all acting, and these cars were actually fabricated and built. Everything you see in this film, all these wild vehicles of the wasteland, they were actually built and driven. Like, just that alone, just see this movie, even if you hate the storyline, which there's no way you're going to hate it, see this movie to appreciate the way cinematography worked and all the production that went into this film. Oh my gosh, it is so incredible. See The Road Warrior. Now, we're going to go back, and I told you I was going to give you a 2 for 1. Here we go. Let me show you this one. We're going to look at this screen together. We're going to look at this scene together. If you're going to see The Road Warrior, which is super action, post-apocalyptic, Warriors of the Wasteland thing, and so cool and iconic in every way, so 80s. How about this film? The original Mad Max, Mel Gibson's breakout role, really, 1979. And I saw these films in the order I've presented them tonight. I saw Mad Max first in the movie theater with my father. How do you like that? A little biography about your buddy CJ tonight. I went to see The Road Warrior and with my father in the theater, and it just left an impression on me. And I got it on VHS when it came out. And then I found out that there was actually a part 1. This was before the internet. Most of us, I'll be honest with you, most of us saw the second movie first. Leave me comments if you didn't. Leave me comments if your experience was different or if it was the same. Mad Max, The Road Warrior, 1981 was the bigger film and got wide distribution in the US. The original Mad Max, the 1979 film, did not. Wasn't even on my radar as a kid back in the day. But I rented it on VHS, and wow, again, different. This was pre-apocalypse, and there's a lot of violence in this movie. It's a wild movie. It's produced and filmed, I think, completely in Australia. The cars, these Ford Falcons, the pursuit special. Mad Max, you see the history of, was it Mac? Max gets his pursuit special. You see the history of how he gets that car, the last of the V8 Interceptors. She sucks nitro. I'm quoting the film. And those of you who know the film know what I'm talking about. These are iconic scenes. You got to watch this movie. This is another one. I would say watch this, but I'm going to warn you. Here's the warning from CJ. I would actually watch Road Warrior first. Why do I say that? You watch Road Warrior, that'll suck you in and into the character, into the story. And then Mad Max, the original film, I'll be blunt. There's some boring elements, just my opinion. This film takes a while, kind of slow, the action scenes, and then things get kind of corny with some of the storyline. I would recommend looking at part 2, then part 1. And as a film buff, I know that sounds weird, but that's the way your buddy CJ would recommend it. You don't have to. We also have to talk about the elephant in the room. How about part 3, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome? That movie wasn't bad. It was atrocious. The third installment of the Mad Max series, Beyond Thunderdome, was an awful film. But can we just talk about the fact that it is an 80s icon? There is so much 80s stuff in Thunderdome. It's almost worth watching. You may not be able to watch it all. Tina Turner in a desert buggy driving through the wasteland. Are you kidding me? By the way, the best thing about Thunderdome, and I'm also a music guy. I know a lot of you are also into music, but the soundtrack and her big hit, which got so much radio and MTV play, We Don't Need Another Hero, from the third film, it was huge. So that film has its own 80s cachet, dare I say. It's got its iconic moments, but it is an awful film. The third film is awful. And I'm really not into the reboots. But anyway, so that's a bit about Mad Max. Road Warrior, to me, is top of the heap, 1981, the best of this series, followed by the first film, 1979. This one, Mad Max. The cars, just absolutely make it really memorable. So let's move on here. Who's having fun? Leave me your comments, like and subscribe. Who's having fun? We are on a Friday night. This is the place to be. I told you this was the place to be. Come on, guys. Let's keep going. All right. What do we have next? Now we're reaching a point in the list, guys, where we're talking about two films which are, let me be blunt, the undisputed heavyweight champions of car guy movies. As automotive enthusiasts, these are must-see films. So iconic, so much fun. Nothing but fun in these films. And so much cool, wild, silly. These are silly films, but they're also a lot of fun. They're also really iconic. And they're just fun watches. And they had such significant impact on a whole generation of car guys. What am I talking about here? Guys, you know it as well as I do. You should know it. This scene, are you kidding me? The opening sequence for Cannonball Run. I can hear the theme song playing in my mind. The Lamborghini, the Firebird, the Trans Am police car, the chase scene, the ladies driving the car, the whole thing. They cross out the speed limit sign. They keep going. It is so great. And it's not, listen, this is not Raging Bull. This is not Hamlet in terms of quality of acting in cinematography and film. Okay, but what it is it's ridiculously fun. I told you my criteria: iconic cars, actors and characters who were memorable, films that had a meaningful impact on our car culture and have stood the test of time. This film, Cannonball Run, Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise, an all-star cast. You got James Bond in this film. Come on, Roger Moore, Sammy Davis Jr. Uh, the list goes on. Everybody's in this film. Jackie Chan is in this film. Y'all know that? Jackie Chan is in this film. So you got to see this movie. It's just a blast. Now, again, this series got diluted as well. There's a Cannonball Run 2. Heck, I don't know. There's all kinds of copycat films. There's Gumball Rally. This is an icon. This is a fantastic film to just watch for the sake of having fun. So if you haven't seen it, stop what you're doing, pause this video, go watch Cannonball Run, then come back, and let's talk about it. Leave me comments. Okay, guys, you knew I had to go here. Here's another one. Here is another one we got to talk about tonight. Are you kidding me? Burt Reynolds, Sally Field, Jerry Reed. I'm talking about Smokey and the Bandit. Guys, I will put this movie, Smokey and the Bandit, in terms of importance to the automotive enthusiast hobby, the impact on young car guys and car girls for that matter, the impact on pop culture. Smokey and the Bandit is right up there with Fast and the Furious. I said it. If you disagree with me, leave me comments. But if you lived through it, okay, and if you're not, let's say if you're 15 years old to 40 years old, or maybe 15 to 35, you're probably more of a Fast and the Furious person. I get it. Generationally, I get it. But if you're in that next age bracket, let's say guys 30 overlapping a bit to 40 to 50 and above, this is your film. Please tell me if you agree. Smokey and the Bandit with that Bandit Trans Am was an icon that influenced us. The CB, Breaker 19, Snowman, you got your ears on, come on. Give me a break. That whole thing, the imagery, Burt Reynolds, we all wanted to be Burt Reynolds. A lot of us wanted to be the Snowman. We would play with our bikes, Smokey and the Bandit. You'd get the toy cars. Everyone was all about the Trans Am. You had the remote control cars. You rented the movie. It is so much fun. Sally Field, she's such an incredible actress over the decades. She's done so much. She was amazing in this film. The chemistry between Burt and Sally, come on. You can't not love this film. And again, it's got to be said, it's probably not, it's not your finest example of academic method acting and that type of thing. Of course it isn't. What I'm talking about here is a fun film that was important to our hobby, that was funny, that had action, that drew you in. The story drew you in, not because it was, a terribly impactful, dramatic film, but simply because you had to watch to see what happened next. And it's so much fun. This film is still so much fun. And again, another series. Now, let me be honest. Let me be blunt, because we said this about Fast and the Furious. This film as well, this series, this franchise became completely diluted. Buford T. Justice, the character, what they did with it became kind of diluted. Jerry Reed's character became diluted. Sally, took a break from the third film. Burt was not in the third film. Second film is not very good. Okay, so this is the one you need to see, and really casts a shadow on the other two. The other two films are not good. They're just, the second one's kind of The third one, oh my gosh, is kind of awful. Let's be blunt. But those are my top films that car guys must see. But I told you, I'm going to give you some freebies tonight. for the kids. Let's talk about the kids. Guys, here we're going into bonus mode. You ready? Some of you guys have young kids. I'm going to give you a couple films, and there's probably a couple of obvious choices here for films with cars, automotive enthusiast films that are also fun for kids and just really, things that kids can watch. I'm giving you a couple sleepers here. Of course, Disney, Pixar, Cars would probably be on everybody's list, and it's on my extended list. But I'm going to take you back. Look at this: the original Herby the Love Bug series. The original one I think came out in around 1968. If I'm wrong, leave me comments. These films are super fun. Yes, they're dated. Yes, they're so 60s, 70s, but that's what makes them fun. Again, a time before CGI. These films are totally appropriate for your kids to watch. You can enjoy them as well. If you're a Volkswagen buff or even an old car buff, there's an automotive motorsport element, a racing element to it. The car scenes are just hysterical. They use all kinds of wacky camera tricks and cinematography effects. It's funny. And the things they do with Herby, you fall in love with Herby. It's a cute film. It's a fun film. I think for everybody who's over a certain age, you remember growing up with these films. But I would say young dudes and dudettes out there, especially if you got kids, tune in one of these. Yes, they're corny. These are corny films, but they're also fun. And I promise you, your kids will enjoy them. Your kids will enjoy these films, and you might just get hooked. There's Herby Goes Bananas. There's all kinds of other, I don't know how many films there are. Leave me comments. But the first one is just a lot of fun. You got Buddy Hackett. Look at him. He's running there with the funnel and the gas can or whatever. It's just hysterical. Or the Irish coffee. I don't remember this scene, but I remember some of it. Heck, maybe I'll go watch it tonight. Herby the Love Bug. Can we talk about the Lindsay Lohan reboot? I remember seeing it. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't anywhere near as good as this. And if you're a fan of that film, go ahead and leave me comments and let's talk about it. All right, guys. Last one on my bonus list. Again, I think there's a lot of awareness over the Cars franchise, but did you know about this? The original Hot Wheels World Race movie. I think it came out around 2003. My son and I watched this movie. We had it on DVD. If we watched it 10 times, we watched it 50 times. It's an animated film. It's like that computer-generated animation, I believe. I haven't seen it in years. I haven't seen it in many years. But again, your kids will love this film. Especially, I say it, probably the young boys. If they're into Hot Wheels, they'll get all their Hot Wheels out on a Friday or Saturday, throw this film on, and they'll play with them. They'll play along with the movie. It's innocent, okay? But it's also kind of cool. If you're a car guy or a car mom, you're gonna watch it too. I had to watch it. You got to do your time. You got to watch it with the kids too. But see this. Listen, I think Cars is a great film. I think there's tons of, more modern stuff, maybe, dare I say. But I wanted to give you a couple sleeper films. Herby the Love Bug, I think, is a fun one from way back in the day. And the Hot Wheels World Race. Heck, nobody's got a DVD player. You can't get it at Blockbuster. Cannot make it a Blockbuster night. But it's probably out there on Prime or Apple or whatever you happen to use. Maybe it's on Netflix. Hot Wheels World Race. Maybe you can find the DVD. It's probably out there. But guys, that's my list. That's CJ's list of must-see ultimate car guy films. There are so many. There are so many out there. But listen, it's a bitter cold night in the Carolinas and up northeast and everywhere else. Be safe this weekend. Watch some of these films. Come back and leave me comments. If you haven't seen all of these films, your buddy CJ laid it out for you. Go watch them and then come back and leave me comments. Tell me your list. I'd love to hear it. And guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you had fun. I know I did. You know I love you guys. Give me a like and subscribe. Leave those comments. I'll answer all the comments that I can. And folks, stay warm and stay safe this weekend. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.